I wrote it for a lot of reasons. The first thing that was driving me to write it was the fact that I had been disturbed since I got out of the Air Force by the memories of the things that took place on this night. And the fact that I wasn't sure if they were memories or if they were nightmares or what they were. I'd had a head injury in the Air Force, and as a result of that, I'd lost 2 years of memory. And it takes a long time to get that back. It doesn't come back in a linear fashion. You'll get August, then you'll get June, then maybe you'll get October. So I didn't know what it was that I was remembering, or if it was dreams I'd had or nightmares that I'd had. Some years later, I'm talking with some ex-missileers. We get into this territory. They start getting kind of edgy about, is this still classified? And the way that they were making their evasions convinced me that, in fact, this had happened, and my memories were pretty concrete, and that more people were disturbed by this than just me. So I tried to get the Air Force to help me get some information about what had happened. There was a lot of denials that it had ever occurred. One information officer finally went off the record and said, we can't control what you write as fiction. And then after some of the prominent figures in the story died, information loosened up. Nobody would still go on the record, but I got a lot more information about the 2 or 3 steps in the checklists toward launch that had to be continued to be top secret. But the rest of it I could write about as long as I kind of treated it as fiction. So I did. And the other reason that I wanted to do the writing was beyond the catharsis, because just getting that done helped a lot. But in 2005, I went back to Missouri, and I drove around to make sure that I could have everything be as accurate and as true to the topography and the layout and everything that was logical as possible. I came across an old farmer who I had met when I was a very young man in missiles, and he was still there. His story plays a role in the book. We were able to keep that in the movie, and we had some wonderful reminiscences. And so what happened was that I was able to get at the book signing I did in that part of the country, I got a copy to his son for him. He took it to him. He's passed. But these farmers, they were a bit troubled by the fact that they had a nuclear weapon in their South 40. Adrian, Missouri, at the west side of town, as you're making the turn leaving town, there was a launcher right there. These people were living at ground zero. They stood up and they said, America needs this defense system, and you're gonna put it on here, and we don't have a lot to argue about, but we're going to stand up and be proud of the fact and support these young men. Now, that was not a very popular time to do that, and we were all men at the time. Women became missileers in the 80s, but this was in the early mid-70s. One of the problems that we had then was it was just post-Vietnam era. It was very unpopular to be in the military. We're at war in a lot of different parts of the world right now, and most of us really wish that we weren't. But we're not holding them responsible, the soldiers. We're honoring those warriors, even though we were against the war. At that point in time, it was like it was our fault. We couldn't even wear our uniforms in public without being harassed. So I want to honor the veterans of that period and the civilians of that period who stood up and said, this country needs to be protected. There's a big enemy who's willing to do us great harm, and we have to create a deterrent. And that means that we're going to have to do some sacrifice. This story honors them, while still, I'm enough of a producer and director that I had to have it be an entertaining, engaging, rip-snorting good tale that's exciting to go through and it's exciting to watch, and is based on things that actually happened. And I wrote it to heal myself and to create a gift for the folks who were there at that time and who suffered through a lot of that, and also to give the current generation a story to look back on and to be proud of.